Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning into another episode, another interview on the Art of Intervention project. I'm excited to interview Katie Donovan today because back when I got into this industry, I put on a huge event here in Denver, Colorado, and she was actually one of my speakers back then. And so here we are on an online summit, and we get to converse again. So, Katie, thanks for chatting with me all the way from Michigan. How you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you, Rob. This is a wonderful thing that you're putting on for those. I think it's really going to help a lot of people.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. We have a whole variety of topics and everything, and your journey is one that is unique in its own journey. But you have learned so much and are changing lives all around the country. So the first question I think I want to ask you is like, why do you even care to talk about this to help family systems heal from addiction?
Well, from a personal standpoint, my daughter has struggled off and on for about 11 years now. And in the beginning, I never thought that this was something that could happen to our family. I certainly wasn't blind to the fact that your kids are going to experiment and try things. It's almost like a rite of passage. Unfortunately, what was being experimented with was highly addictive, and it was very scary. And I didn't realize that she was actually addicted to things. In the beginning, I'm thinking, well, she's got an attitude, right? I didn't even know drugs were involved by any means. Right? She's 18 and she's female and she's going through changes and she started losing weight and all of these signs looking back were there, but I didn't pinpoint it to that. I thought she was depressed and it was getting her into therapy, etc. Uh, and fast forward, what has transpired over the past 11 years is something that I wouldn't wish upon my worst enemy. And what I've seen is such trauma that affects families, but yet there really isn't a ton of focus on family assistance, especially when your loved one is in a treatment facility. We're basically told just to go to a support group meeting. Well, I know for me personally, in the beginning, I thought, I don't, I'm not the one with the problem. Why do I, right? Why do I have to go? And then some of these archaic sayings that were being told to me, such as stop killing your kid. I understood the premise of it, right? But that is actually really placing a lot of shame on families. And I was very offended because I thought I am a good mom. And I was the, Girl Scout leader, and I taught Bible study, and our home was the house where all the kids came and hung out and right, and I volunteered at the schools, and not that I'm perfect, right? Nobody is. I'm not saying that, but I was involved. And we did talk about drugs and all these things. And so for someone to say that to me was very, very offensive, and I shut right down.
Yeah.
I shut right down. And going through, fast forward, if I wish that there was personal, individualized help for families back then. And that is why I ended up leaving my career. I had a corporate career. I was doing client relations for a semiconductor company, and I needed to leave because I started to write and my blog took off, and I realized I'm not the only one who feels this way. And people would say, you got to give tough love and let her go already. And when she gets a year, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't understand that. That didn't feel comfortable for me to just completely walk away from my child. She's sick. And I didn't believe in this. I felt it was an archaic model of guidance for families, and also other things weren't addressed either, when it causes strain in your marriage and other siblings are affected by this, and there's a lot of anger and resentment. And I certainly did a lot of things wrong. And people would say, stop enabling and do this, but I didn't understand what it was.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Nobody
not. Yeah.
explained it,
Yeah, it's not
right?
like you. It's like you when your daughter was growing up. You were reading this book, like, well, when my daughter becomes an addict, or when my husband gets, we get distant in our marriage because of this. It's not like there's this preparation, and not that you want to put energy in that either. So,
Right.
um,
Right. And you're winging it, right? And and things change. You go through amazing moments of sobriety and hope and future. And then you feel devastation when you're seeing your loved one struggle again. And I've had to save my own daughter many times with Narcan and give CPR, and I've watched her have her shirt ripped open and incubated, and the whole bit. We as families have so much that we're carrying, but it's not being addressed. And I see maybe their loved one goes through, maybe it's treatment, maybe they didn't, maybe they did it another pathway, whatever, but maybe they're doing incredible. But the family part, we are still very sick. We are. And I say that with love because I was one of them. And sometimes I still am. I'm human. I'm human. But we can also contribute to part of that unknowingly. And the biggest piece, I think, is when we are trying to control the situation. For example, uh, there was a time where when my daughter got out of treatment, I had already applied for a job for her, right? And I lined up a sponsor. I researched it, and I thought, you're really gonna love Susie. You're gonna connect, right? Oh my God. And so then I was setting my alarm to make sure she was up on time to go to work because of my fear. My fear was, if she didn't get up for work, she's going to lose her job, and then she's going to relapse, and then she's going to die. There was no in between. And so my fear caused me to do this. And that's not necessarily a horrible thing, but again, if families are doing this, it's recognizing that this is coming from our state of fear. And it's also coming from a state of love, because it's really difficult to learn how to react a different way, because our normal, we're caring for our children as they're growing, right? We're teaching them, we're showing them how to ride their bikes, and right when the thunderstorm comes, we're taking care of them, and they're sick, we go to the doctors. And when it comes to this, we're doing the best that we can with the knowledge that we have at that time. And as your knowledge grows, so will your strength. And I knew for myself, as I was wrapping my arms around this situation over and over and over, trying to control it, I actually wasn't giving her the dignity and respect that she deserved to handle it on her own. And when I started to pull back on that, I learned she needed to stumble. She needed to fight that fight. And what I needed to do was work on myself and work on my marriage, right? Because that was being harmed, not intentionally, but you're so focused on saving your loved one, and that the other ones in the household, you're thinking, well, they're okay, right? I have to do this. What will she do without me? And I had a big breakdown one day. And I remember I was driving my car. I'm sorry, my husband called me. He called me at home, and he said, "Hey, can you take out the garbage? I forgot to do it this morning." Normally, obviously, that's not a big deal, right?
Right.
For some reason, at that moment, it turned into a huge deal. And I started screaming and crying, and I'm swearing, and I'm yelling, and I'm saying, "Just leave me alone already. Just leave me alone." Because I felt at that moment pulled in so many different directions. I've been trying to balance my corporate career, trying to balance my household, my marriage, my youngest daughter, who's, just the sweet, innocent one, and putting out the fires of the daily drama and chaos that is going on in my oldest daughter's life. And I just felt that was it. And I jumped in my car and I just drove, and I drove, and I drove, and I drove. And I remember it's pouring down rain, and I'm crying, and I'm screaming, at the people on the road. And I, like, this isn't me. This isn't me. And all I could think about was driving my car into a tree. But I didn't want to die. I just wanted my pain to end. I wanted my family's pain to end. And by the grace of God, my husband found me that day. And that was when, for me, it was my moment of he was begging me to get help. And I felt like before, getting help meant I was a failure. I was a failure as a parent. I was a failure as a wife, and all of these things. And I'll be honest, the first support group meeting that I went to, I found it online. I drove there. I pulled into the church parking lot, parked my car, and I sat inside my car for the entire hour. And I sobbed my eyes out, and I drove home. And my husband said, "I'm so proud of you. How did it go?" And I said, "It was wonderful. I totally lied."
Wow.
Because
Wow.
I felt like I'm a failure for not walking in, but just me driving was my first step, right? And then I have to put that into a perspective of, we tell our kids or our loved ones, whoever it is, right? You need to go to a meeting, and you're supposed to go to this, you're supposed to go to that. How hard it must be for them to walk in. It was so hard for me to do that. But also, some meetings are good, and some are not so good. But for me, it was my first step into learning of what some of these things really, really meant. Because I didn't understand. I don't even really like the word enabling. I think it's like a swear word, right?
Yeah.
But I learned that it was more of, it's about me. What am I willing to do and not do? And that can change all the time, all the time. For example, if my child calls, and it became toxic, right? Every phone call, I didn't want to answer because it was going to be some kind of drama on the phone, and it built up so much anxiety in me. But I would answer, and I would say, "What now?" And then she would start crying and saying, "I just want you to be my mom." And I didn't know how to do that. So that's why another reason why I left, and I became a family coach, to really help other families understand this process. And with that, my marriage became stronger. My relationships became stronger. It helped me in all aspects of my life. And I learned to listen. I learned to listen, and I knew I wasn't going to listen to these other people that would say, "You just need to cut her off and don't even talk to her." I'm not going to do that. I'm going to lean into love, but I'm going to pull out of the chaos. And one of the ways that I can do that is when she's able to call me now, and say, Mom, I haven't used in about 6 hours and I'm feeling really sick. Before, I would probably lecture, or in my head, I'm thinking, well, gosh, I hope you really feel this pain, right? Maybe you won't forget it. That's judging. That's judging. And I'm able to say now, I'm sorry that's happening. It's really going to suck. And I just listen. I don't try and fix it and let her be on her own journey. But she knows that we are there with love, always, always.
Mm. Yeah, what a healing journey you've been on, right? And all the lessons that you've learned that now you get to share with people in the coaching and everything that you do. And I know you do an amazing job with that also. So thanks for sharing the vulnerability of your story. And that vulnerability is what I want to go back to this when you put yourself out there, because I think some people don't want to share their pain and their stories
Yeah.
because of the shame and the character assassinations that are going to come, like, well, you're a horrible person because you did this. What was it like when you put yourself out there and people started saying, hey, Katie, I want to know more because I know your blog took off like crazy, but what was that like internally when you're like, oh, wow, I'm out there now?
Whew. So I started writing just for some self-healing. There was no intention. There was no nothing. I built this website, Little Love Nugget, watching YouTube videos. I literally had no idea what I was doing. And it was just for myself. And I wrote a few pieces, but I didn't show it to anyone. And because at that time I still had my corporate career, and not a lot of people knew about our family's struggles. And so I sat down with my family and I said, I think I'd like to share this. How do you feel? Because I was more worried about them and their comfort level, because this is exposing us, right? And especially my youngest daughter, is she going to be judged by her friends' parents, and you can't go hang out with her anymore because that type of thing. I was just very worried. And they all said, Mom, we support you, we love you, and do it. And my youngest daughter, she actually said, Mom, if my friends judge me, then they're not my friends. And I was
Wow.
so proud of
Wow.
her. So proud of her. And so I did. I remember texting my best girlfriends and I said, okay, I'm doing it. And I took a deep breath and I posted a blog on Facebook, and petrified. I was petrified that of my exposure and that I would be judged. I was really hoping that just 20 of my close family and friends would read it, because I worked so hard on it, but I was so scared, uh, just of everything, right? And then what happened from there, I can't even explain, Rob. It just kept being shared and shared and shared. And then my website crashed and I thought, oh God, what did I screw up? Because I don't know what I'm doing. And I called the server host people, whatever they are, and they said that I maxed out the bandwidth and I had to upgrade. And I said, that doesn't make sense.
Mm.
Well, over 1 million people in 30 days went to my little website in 146 countries. And I'm sobbing and I'm hysterical, laughing like this doesn't make any sense. But the love that was coming from that, I will tell you, thousands and thousands of emails and comments, not one of them was negative. Not one. It was, my story is your story. Finally, somebody gets it. Thank you for sharing. And it just started forming this whole little community on its own, this beautiful place where people felt they could come, they were empowered, we can laugh, we can cry, because this is life, right? And I feel that now we all struggle with something in life, no matter what, who you are. it doesn't necessarily have to be addiction, or maybe it's mental health. Maybe you've got a really crappy boss, right? Or you're going through a horrible time in your life, and maybe you're getting a divorce, or you've lost a parent to Alzheimer's, right? There's a million different things, but we're all struggling with something. When you share that struggle, it gives trust in others to share their struggle as well. And when we begin to do that and we share without trying to fix someone, when I say I'm going to share with you, just listen. Nobody wants to say, well, you should do this, or how about this? It's our natural reaction, right? To want, because we want to help. We want to help someone with their pain. But 9 times out of 10, they've probably already tried that. The best thing to do is just wrap your arms around them and love them up. And when they feel that, a community is born, a community of unity that isn't toxic. That's what is powerful. And that's what I came from this, is I'm not alone. And there is true power in a healthy way of sharing. Now, every once in a while, there'll be a random negative comment, but I realized, you know, there's some toxic people out there, and you just move on. Don't let one little thing stop you from your mission. And if you see a hole in whatever you're struggling with and you feel like you can create a solution, don't wait for somebody else to do it. You jump out there and do it. There is power in that.
Yeah, there is complete power in that. And, you know, the message I'm hearing you say is like, you know, you did the best you could at the time when you had the tools that you had, right? And you've learned these new tools now to learn how, and even showing us and everyone watching right now and people in your community that as a family, you can recover, right? But you had to take care of yourself first to even be that change agent for you, and then even in your family, right?
You do. And, you know, it's funny you should say that. People would say you got to focus on yourself and take care of yourself. But I thought that meant I can't focus on my daughter. And again, I'm not doing that, right? She's sick. Go in baby steps, even if it's just taking 20 minutes a day for a walk. That's it. And also, I understand how the anxiety that you have inside. I understand the fear that you have inside. I understand when you get that phone call or a letter in the mail or something that's going to rock your world. And with addiction, it's usually every day. You don't have to participate in every drama that's brought to you. You don't have to. You can, if you're on the phone with your loved one and they're saying, oh my gosh, right, you know, I got kicked out of sober living, or got fired from this job, and almost looking for us to, like, we're natural fixers, right? So, whoop, okay, I'll find another solution for you. It's okay to say, gosh, I'm sorry that happened. What do you think you should do? That's it. It's pulling you out of it, but you're still showing you love and you're still showing that you care. And they will probably surprise you with their responses.
That's a lot of encouragement, learning how to respond instead of react to the situation, and
Mm-hmm.
and healthy living as well. Well, your story is powerful, and again, like I said, I know you're changing lives all over the place. What what would you like to say to people, and let them know how they can kind of get in touch with you also as we kind of wrap up?
What would I like to say to people?
Yeah.
I think the biggest piece is, well, one, don't feel like you're a failure as a parent. I certainly did for a long time. And again, with the archaic phrases, have you ever been Have you ever been to a funeral and you hear someone say, but gosh, they came from a really good family? I remember hearing that, and I thought inside, does that mean that my family's bad? What does that mean? And I realized those are the kinds of conversations I'm not going to be sucked into. And I'm not going to let that affect me. And don't listen to that kind of noise. It's just noise. People are going to be judging because it's usually a situation that they're not familiar with. You lead with love. You lead with love in your heart, love for yourself, and understand that focusing on today and not thinking about what's going to happen or what could happen in 2 weeks, 3 months, 5 years, doesn't matter. You focus on today. I have to every day just be in this moment and embrace today. People will say, well, what is your daughter going to do now? She's got a few months under her belt or whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care what she does. She's alive. That's all that matters. And I'm grateful for every moment that I spend with her. That's it. Don't listen to the, the, the noise out there, and embrace your loved ones today. They can reach me at amothersaddictionjourney.com. I am offering a free gift with this, and it's 2 free 30-minute private one-on-one coaching sessions. I do them all virtually, either via Zoom or over the phone, whatever someone's comfort level is. But that is my gift. I want to help and give back and help someone navigate through this with love.
Well, what an incredible story to bless our audience with, and also an incredible gift. So y'all make sure you take advantage of that. And Katie, you're amazing. And maybe I'll see you when I'm up in Michigan this summer. Who knows?
That'd be wonderful.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Rob.